After being admitted to Mount Pleasant Hospital, Dr. Rose Cotter, a therapist who was traumatized by seeing her mother's suicide at the age of 10, meets with graduate student Laura Weaver in an emergency session. Laura, who saw her professor Gabriel Munoz bludgeon himself with a hammer just a few days earlier, cries she is being haunted by a malevolent being whose curse has engulfed her life and no one but her can see. Although Dr. Rose treats her as having hallucinations, Laura maintains that the entity has the ability to appear as other people with a strange smile. Laura panics, pretending to be dead, then begins smiling ominously before slicing open her neck with a broken vase shard in front of Rose. Rose's ex-boyfriend Joel is one of the detectives who investigates Laura's death. Rose recalls what Laura told her about being supposedly cursed by an evil being with a haunting smile, still shaken by what she saw. Laura begins to smile at her in a variety of ways. Rose begins to investigate Gabriel Munoz's suicide, finding that he was also smiling strangely right before he died. Rose checks on Carl Rankin, her patient, who had been admitted to the hospital for a manic episode. Carl smiles ominously and begins to terrorize and threaten Rose. "You're going to die!" prompting her to call hospital security. Carl is resisted by orders, but Rose only imagined his aggressive behavior. Rose's boss, Dr. Morgan takes Rose on 1 week's leave after fearing that Laura's tragic death may have triggered a mental breakdown.
Has been in and out of here. Has never exhibited behavior even remotely aggressive.
The security alarm goes off while Rose is home alone, following another disturbing image of Laura. Rose is reportedly called by a security guard who seems to be sending a sarcastic message.
Yes. Are you sure?
Then she was called by the real operator shortly after. Later on, she notices her cat is missing after her fiancé Trevor returns home.
Rose, did you break another glass?
When Rose is suddenly spooked again when listening to audio from her consultation with Laura, Trevor must calm her down.
Rose, put the knife down!
Rose visits her former therapist, Dr. Madeline Northcutt, who is concerned about her own mental health. Rose describes having hallucinations, which Madeline attributes to Rose's long-serving guilt over her mother's intentional overdose. Madeline refuses Rose's offer to prescribe antipsychotic drugs.
Rose, you don't seem delusional or disordered to me. And certainly not psychotic.
Rose attended at her 7-year-old nephew Jackson's birthday party at her sister's house, Holly. When Jackson opens Rose's gift, Jackson found Rose's dead cat inside.
What the hell is wrong with you?
They are bewildered. Rose trips and falls through a glass table after another glimpse of Laura terrifies her, vehemently insisting she isn't responsible.
Something is threatening me.
Rose tries to inform Trevor of the alleged curse that plagued Laura that is apparently being passed on to her as her sanity unravels. Rose is accused of inheriting a mental disorder from her mother and killing their cat, according to Trevor.
Mental illness. You can inherit it from a parent. I looked it up.
Rose tries to get more information about Gabriel Munoz, Laura's professor she mentioned before she died. Rose visits Victoria, Gabriel Munoz's widow. Victoria shows her macabre sketches of a dark entity that Gabriel drew of trying to get inside him. Rose also discovers that Gabriel was traumatized by his brother's death 20 years ago, and that he began ranting about the curse that plagued him after he saw a woman killed herself in the conference he attended. Rose asks for the woman's name, but Victoria spits Rose out of her house.
Get the out of my house!
After that, Rose becomes convinced that Gabriel was telling the truth about his curse. Rose convinces Joel to assist her in resolving mysteries. She asked Joel to use his police computer to access a file for Angela Powell, the real estate agent who Gabriel Munoz saw die. Angela was seen by a smiling man suddenly hacking his own neck with gardening shears at a gas station several days before her death. Rose returns home to find that Trevor called Madeline for an assessment of Rose's traumatic mental health. Rose storms out to take copies of Joel's files to her sister Holly, feeling betrayed. Rose tries to tell Holly about the curse, which only leads to the sisters arguing about Rose's behavior in the same way as their abusive mother.
You've completely traumatized Jackson, okay? I can't have you around while you're like this.
Another horrific incident happened to Rose, and it was accidentally witnessed by Jackson.
Holly.
Joel calls Rose to inform her that further investigation revealed a string of 20 similar cases involving witnesses to 19 suicides. Robert Talley, an accountant, made the cut, watching his business partner commit suicide. Robert killed a stranger 4 days later rather than killing himself. The eyewitness to Robert's conduct committed suicide a week later, and the pattern began to repeat.
Eyewitness to the murder also commits suicide. Pattern resumes.
So he's alive.
Yeah.
Joel takes Rose to see Robert Talley in prison. While driving, Rose tells a disbelieving Joel that the entity possesses people before they kill themselves, and that she fears that her time with the curse is almost over. At the jail, Robert privately reveals to Rose that the only way to break the curse's chain is to kill someone else, but there has to be a witness because the entity needs trauma to continue surviving. Robert suddenly panics when he realizes Rose currently carries the curse.
Get away from me! Get away from me!
Madeline visits Rose at home. She asks Rose how she is. Then the phone rings. Rose realizes that the entity is impersonating Madeline. Rose is threatened by Madeleine's smiling doppelganger.
Almost time, Rose.
Rose! What are you doing here?
Rose goes to the hospital with a kitchen knife. Rose sees a vision of stabbing her patient Carl to death in front of Dr. Desai, who then tears off his own face. Rose is discovered in her car with the knife by the real Dr. Desai, who tries to call help before she rushes away.
I'm gonna make a phone call, alright? Rose, don't go anywhere! Hey!
As long as I'm alone, I can deprive it of what it needs.
That doesn't make any sense.
Based on Rose's conversation with her worried boss at the hospital, Joel calls to inform her that there is an APB out for her. Rose cryptically states that she will confront the entity and will be alone so that no witnesses can inherit the curse. Rose drives to their abandoned home, where her mother died. She confronts a depiction of her mother inside, who accuses her of allowing her to die by refusing to seek help when she discovered her overdosing. Rose accuses her mother of being a cruel king. The illustration then transforms into a lanky creature that assaults Rose.
You can't escape your own mind, Rose.
You can't escape it either.
She lights the creature on fire with an oil lantern. Then she runs outside as the entire house goes up in flames. Rose reaches out to Joel to apologize for involving him in this situation and for not being emotionally available during their marriage. When Joel smiles eerily, Rose realizes she is still cursed. Rose flies outside to find that she never really left her intact childhood home. The real Joel arrives at the abandoned house. Rose locks Joel outside to protect him while the creature opens her mouth. Joel enters the house just in time to see Rose set herself on fire while still smiling ominously.